What is up, everybody? This is Ben and Zach. Welcome to the District Spotlight, your premier platform for independent music.
Yes, thank you, Ben. This is an
Welcome.
an extremely important episode to us. This is our last episode of season 1. I just got to say thanks for tuning in this far with us. We seriously really appreciate the support. This all just started out of as an idea, out of a vision to give the artists and the audience a platform to spotlight the independent music scene, and it grew to something much bigger than that. We're adding a lot of impact into people's lives, into their careers, something that we've taken to our heart, and we couldn't have done it without you guys, your support. So yeah, just if you like what you see, comment, like, share, subscribe. If you do nothing else, definitely check out the musicians that we bring on. They're amazing people, incredible talents, big visions, big goals, and you never know. Maybe you'll be backstage at one of their shows in a couple of years when they blow up. So,
Amen to that.
Amen to that. But yeah, this week we have a very special guest. Definitely one of the more experienced performers we've had on the show, by far. I would say, if you were wanting to see what it looks like to actually attack a music career, this is what it looks like. This is what she's doing. And behind all of her experience and her talent, she's a really good person, really fun person to be around. Heavenly voice, and is absolutely mean on the guitar. So thanks for coming in, Haley. Sorry about that. I was a little emotional in that intro. Haley Jonay, everybody.
Hi.
Hey.
On the District Spotlight. What's up? How are you?
I'm great. How are you guys?
Good.
Fabulous. Thanks for being here today.
Oh my gosh, I am so excited, and what a special occasion. Congrats on your first season.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
Grand finale.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
So
Right on.
you've been doing music for, you're not that old, but you've been doing music for a while, and you're not just a singer. You're like multi-instrumental. So if you could like dive into that,
Definitely.
From the beginning, yeah.
I mean, if we're going back to the beginning, we're talking about like childhood. Music has always been my constant in my life. I taught myself to play piano around the age of 6 or 7, guitar around 12 or 13, ukulele soon after. I wrote my first song when I was 7.
Wow.
Definitely a hit song. It should have blown up way ahead of its time. But then really started taking it more seriously around 13 or 14 and playing gigs and playing out and releasing music for real. So yeah, it's been a lifelong journey, but I love it with my whole heart. So
That's crazy,
That's
man.
awesome.
Being that young and already knowing, and not just knowing, because when you're that young, you almost feel like, oh, it'd be really cool to be a police officer. It'd be really cool to be a fireman, a lawyer. But it's like, it'd be cool to be a musician, but you're actually like, I'm going to be a musician at such a young age. It's really impressive to have that mindset and attack that mindset. When did you know? How did you know
Was it
at
like
such a young age?
Was it a concert you went to and you're like, yeah, this is what I'm going to do?
absolutely. I was about 9 years old, going to the most lit concert in the universe, the Hannah Montana concert. Hannah Montana
Yes.
meets Miley Cyrus, Best of Both Worlds tour, 2007.
Wow.
I went with my mom, and I remember this vivid memory of just looking at the stage and taking it all in, and the interaction with the crowd and the music, and just like literally looking at her and saying, Mom, this is what I want to do. That's going to be me one day. And she was like, you can do anything you want to do. So I'm like, all right, like, let's do this. Let's go. So
Man, you're manifesting at a young age.
yeah, I try to practice that. All you can do is your best, and shoot for the stars, and just give it your best go. You'll have no regrets. And if you're doing what you love, you never work a day in your life. So it's like,
That's crazy, man. You must have some really supportive parents.
I do. It's really amazing. I remember when I was about 14, I went to them, and that was when there was like a clear shift. I'm like, okay, this is going to be a straight up career. So I went to them and I'm like, guys, music is the only thing that makes me happy in life. It's what I want to pursue, and I'm going to go full throttle. And that's kind of like a nerve-wracking experience, going up to your parents and being like, because like you said, a lot of kids are like, oh, lawyer, doctor, which I feel like are a little more attainable, or like
Realistic.
Realistic, yeah. There's like a clear-cut path as opposed to music, where it's like you kind of got to make your own path. So going to them and telling them that, and having them be so supportive and come to every gig, and my dad's my manager, so having that support is completely like just amazing. indescribable for sure.
Shout out to you guys.
Yes.
Shout out, man.
Oh, they're so
Did
cute.
you? So did you guys, as a family, have any experience in the music industry thus far, or is this something that you all were experiencing at first? This for your first time.
That's a great question. I have 2 older sisters who were super into sports, super into soccer. I was really the first in my family to do music in general, let alone try to pursue it in the industry. So it's been a learning experience. Every time you think that you've got a handle on it and you know what to expect, you learn something new. So it has really been a learning experience, a growing experience together, but it makes for good memories. I'm really grateful for all of it.
Yeah, you guys probably really close as well.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
You've done a really good job. I mean, I would say when I said earlier, like building a career, growing a career, you're checking all the boxes. You're getting on the road. You got a legit website. I guarantee you probably established LLCs. You've done all the behind work that goes into it. What is some of that people don't see? Some of that grind that people don't see?
Man, just complete and total dedication and sacrifice. I started doing homeschooling when I was 16 and made that decision to have more time to invest in my music. And it affects social life. It affects, basically everything. But it's so worth it because you see the results when you're putting in that time and that sacrifice and that dedication. And so it's like, in one hand, yeah, would it be cool to have maybe a normal 22-year-old experience, be like going to college and going to parties and stuff? Yeah, of course you think about that, but the joy and amazing experience of music far outweighs that. And so it's not even a question in my mind, really.
Wow.
I mean, it's basically like you're going to a party when you're playing. So
yeah, no,
that's the life of it.
It totally is. Yeah, I feel like I definitely get that fill in my life through music and through live shows and stuff like that.
What are some of your favorite live shows you've done?
Ooh, that is hard, man. Big and small, every show has its different vibe, its different takeaways. For me, last year I played the Hi-Fi for the first time, and
I saw that set. That was dope.
Thank you.
That was New Faces night.
Yeah, I actually opened for Maggie Rose back in May. I played twice last year, and then the second time was New Faces night. But that was just really cool. It's kind of like one of those venues that you grow up thinking, oh, I really want to play there. And especially since I only turned 21 last year, it was like the first time that I could really be a part of that experience. So it was really cool. It's awesome for sure.
What about dream venues? Do you have any that you definitely
The sky's
you
limit.
made it when you've played at this place?
Oh, stop. A lot of people be like Madison Square Garden, or they'll talk about these kind of out of state venues. And don't get me wrong, I'm not going to deny that opportunity any day. Let's go. But I've always thought it would be cool to play at Bankers Life Fieldhouse or a big show where I'm from, just to feel that kind of full circle moment would be huge for me.
You have played at a couple places here. You just talked about the Hi-Fi. You also did you play at I think it's Freedom Jam 2017?
Yeah.
That's in Greenwood, right? Is that the amphitheater in Greenwood?
Yeah.
What came out of that? I saw an article on that. You won, and then did you get on a radio show or something?
Definitely, yeah. So they had a contest going at the festival in 2017, and so then I got to headline the next year. So that was a really cool opportunity to play on their bigger stage, and yeah, there was a couple radio spots that came out of that. So that was definitely a cool experience.
Yeah, I saw you on Corn Country. That's got to be a lot of fun.
Yeah. It was a fun experience, definitely.
Definitely something that, kids that are going to prom and stuff aren't getting that experience of doing.
Yeah, it's a trade-off, and I'll take it.
That's where the sacrifice comes in. That's really cool, man. You talk about it like it's nothing. You're so humble. A lot of people would give everything to do that kind of stuff, but
I'm grateful. I don't take it for granted for a second.
How do you get your foot into those doors? That's kind of the goal of any musician, is to get onto those stages and into those competitions and on those radio shows. What is the work behind it?
Definitely. Like I said, I played my first gig at 13 or 14. And so since then I've just been hitting it hard, playing any stage that'll have me and really just building those local connections. And we kind of have a saying, you never know who's going to be in the audience or what's going to come from a gig. If there's 3 people in the audience, that doesn't matter. It's quality over quantity, because one of those people could book the show of your dreams. So you've got to play every show to its full extent. which is a philosophy that I totally have embraced and practiced since I was younger, where it's like every show 110%, and usually something will come from it. And the industry is really just luck of the draw and fate and being in the right place at the right time and meeting the right people. So as far as like a total strategy, you just got to get out there, play, do your best, and love what you're doing.
That's super cool, man.
Speaking about, sorry.
No, you're good.
Speaking about loving what you're doing and like, this is clearly about music. Is there anything else like you're passionate about? You do for fun or anything like that? I know you take it pretty seriously, but
yeah, no, music. I love music. I love to I'm so fun. I love to read. I love to bake. Man, I don't know. I've always just kind of loved history. I would be an archaeologist maybe if I wasn't doing music.
Really? Like digging up dinosaurs?
Yeah, or like ancient, going to like, I'm pretty sure it's a paleontologist, but
yeah.
Sorry to correct you on your own show. That's
No, you're fine. It happens often. You would.
Yeah.
You would believe it, I'm sure.
But yeah, I don't know, just a little bit of everything. It's really hard because music is my number one, and I feel like there's so many different avenues within that. There's never a shortage of time to dedicate, or I guess there is a shortage of time. There's never enough time to fully dedicate myself to everything I want to pursue. So.
And you don't get burned out?
No.
That's cool.
Well, you said you read. I know one of your songs are actually like based on a novel, right?
Yes.
You want to dive into that one for us?
Definitely. In 2016, I released a song called All the Right Places based on a book of the same name by Jennifer Niven. I just remember reading it. It was really impactful. It talks a lot about mental health and mental illness and suicide, and I just felt like it was an important story that needed to be heard, and it impacted me. Kind of my process for writing songs in general is I am impacted in some way, or I feel a need to like express what I'm feeling or thinking. And that just kind of happened tenfold. I read it one night, the next morning I got up and I just had to express it in some way. So I wrote that song, released it, and the fans of the book have been so receptive and so loving, and the author herself has said such kind things about it. So that's really cool.
That's
cool.
interesting. Did you think that was going to happen when you were writing the song?
Definitely not. I never, with any song, you never know what life it's going to take on, like where it's going to go. You just hope that at least one person can connect with it or like feel it. So, yeah, I'm really grateful for all of that. The movie just released on Netflix, so that's kind of exciting.
Okay.
And
might have to check that out.
Yeah.
And
honestly.
yeah, I have a new version of that song coming out soon. Date TBA.
Yeah.
Heard. Okay. Sweet.
And your newest song is
You Sound Like.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that was like a perfect you timed that perfectly for February. It was kind of cool.
Thank you. I started writing that song 2018, and it kind of just sat by itself for a while, the lyrics. I always knew that I wanted to end up using them, but it never like coincided where I had like a beat that I had made or like a track where I'm like, oh, this will fit perfect. So I just kind of like kept it to the side, and then in about early January, I like made this track, and I had this idea about writing a song that literally the instruments were as much of a storyteller as the lyrics. And so I'm like, okay, like how can I translate my feelings into actual music? And that kind of came out through the guitar riff that ended up being like the hook throughout the whole song. Then I like laid down the sick beat with it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, wait a second. These lyrics fit perfect, like puzzle piece moments. So I'm like, okay. And I just had a feeling about it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, there's a line about you're my Valentine, endless February, and it's about to be February, so I'm like, all right, we're about to expedite this song.
You went and did that. I liked it. It was a great song.
Thank you so much. I'm really proud of it.
Speaking of another great song, Do You Believe in Me? I think that had just hit 1 million streams on Spotify, right?
Yeah.
Dude, that's crazy. Congrats, first off.
Thank you.
Second off, how did you do it? Personally, I looked at the numbers, and then I saw that you might have gotten on a Spotify playlist.
Yeah.
How did you do? That's like another one of every artist's dreams is to get on a Spotify. How did you do that?
So Do You Believe in Love is from my album Wilderness, which came out in August 2018. And I remember waking up the day it came out and checking my phone, and it had like 50,000 streams. It's like 8 a.m. I'm like, wait a second, what's going on? Like, never experienced anything like that. And I saw that it had been added to different editorial playlists, New Music Friday and Mood Booster and Daily Lift. And
Wow.
yeah, that's just surreal, because then you look at how many people are listening to those, and it's just putting it in perspective is impossible. So I'm just like, all right, well, I'll accept that this is happening, but still can't believe it. And it's kind of taken on a life of its own from there. It's pretty huge in Germany for some reason. So shout out to Germany for
Shout out Germany.
for listening to that. So yeah, it's just really cool. It's amazing to see. Can't even begin to comprehend that many people listening to it, but I'm thankful that they did.
So did you like submit that to Spotify? Is that how that works?
Yeah.
And you in hopes that they curate it?
Yeah, it was kind of like a perfect storm. I was releasing it came out August 3rd, and I get an email from Spotify for Artists like July 19th, and they're like, we have this new beta program where you can submit your songs for playlist consideration, but you have to have a 2-week window. I'm like, okay, that's perfect. My songs come out, or my album comes out in 2 weeks. So I submitted it, crossed my fingers. Honestly, I'm like, they probably get so many submissions.
Wow.
Never expected anything to come of it. And yeah, it's wild. Again, just so grateful. I can't believe it. It's definitely like a crazy thing.
Did you submit your whole album, or did you just pick that one song?
You can only pick one song per release. So that's another challenge in itself, because when you have like 8 to 10
Right,
songs
what do
that
you
you really
choose?
believe in, you're
Yeah.
like, what? And then you're like, okay, is the editor that's listening to the submission gonna like what I chose? Would they have liked something else better?
So
It's
what
a
was
lot
your
to
thought
think
process
about.
with that? Why'd you choose that song?
Well, the song almost didn't even make the album. It almost got like totally scrapped and was never released. And it only has four tracks on it. Like, it's very minimal. And the rest of the album, in contrast, like, I'd spent so much time like with all these layers and really building it up. So it was almost like, well, if I'm going to submit one, like, I probably shouldn't submit the one that I've put like the least amount of time into. But my parents were just like total champions of it. I ended up sending the album to a bunch of my friends and family and fans, and they ended up almost unanimously saying, this is absolutely the song you have to
Wow,
pick.
okay.
This is what makes me feel something. Like, this is what you got to do. So I'm like, all right. And I did it, and obviously it paid off.
Nice.
It's crazy good.
That's crazy.
Thank you.
Man, that's awesome. So kind of going back to growing up and chasing music so passionately, what was that like, being around other kids growing up wanting to live a normal life? How did you feel?
A normal life, like
Yeah, I say normal, you know what I'm saying.
No, I totally get you. It's really cool. I was always in choir, so I tended to surround myself with like-minded kids who were also into music, and I feel like being in music education when I was in school was a huge key factor in my love of music, and being able to experience that on a daily basis, and not feel so like isolated with my love of music, because I was constantly around other people that liked it. But yeah, it's definitely a sacrifice. Like, you have to make sacrifices with your social situations and stuff like that. But my friends have always been so supportive and understanding, and I couldn't ask for more.
That's crazy. Okay.
Well, starting music so young, what's actually kept you in Indiana? Or have you ever thought, I mean, since you were so young and you're already putting out music, why not pack your bags?
A couple years ago, I was talking to this A&R representative from Los Angeles from a major label, and I was like sending back songs I was writing for some major artists and pop artists and stuff, and it was really cool. It was a great back and forth. We talked about, okay, like bringing me out to LA and really going full throttle, and I was so close to just being like, all right, like, let's make it happen. But it felt almost like a machine rather than like an art form, and it felt like I was having to compromise my artistry or my songwriting to fit like a calculated formula for like top 40. So for me, I'm like, man, could this be a great opportunity? Yes. And I'm not saying like down the road that that's not going to be something I explore. I'm very open-minded with that. But for me, being here, having my base and continuing to grow my own music and my own art, time is of the essence. So I'm like, man, if I'm going to invest any time, I want to invest it in my own music for sure.
Okay, so you got connected to an A&R, and you were writing songs for other top
Yeah.
musicians, really?
Yeah, I can't name names.
No, you're good. You don't have to, but that's super cool.
Are the
Thank you.
songs already out or?
A couple of them I kept for myself and
Really?
have released them. In fact, You Sound Like, the lyrics for that were originally written for that project. So yeah, it's just crazy. You never know where it's going to take you. And like I said, you never know who you're going to meet or what's going to come of it. But I just try to make the most of every experience
Yeah.
and grow from it.
So doing that, did that give you confidence knowing that you're songwriting for these really extremely talented people?
Definitely.
You're like, I can do this. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It was a lot of like late nights. I wrote so much during that period, but it really helped me grow as a songwriter and kind of to think outside of myself. When you're writing for somebody else, it's totally different than writing for your own perspective. You have to put yourself in their shoes. So it was definitely beneficial in that way. I got a lot of great content out of it, learned a lot in general. So I'm grateful for the experience.
Damn, that's cool.
Thank you.
No, you're welcome.
Love
You're
it.
welcome. So if you're just staying here, growing, I love what you said about that, getting your fan base, building your platform here. What are you excited about here that you're doing in the future? How are you building that?
Just hitting it hard, playing a lot of local gigs, continuing to build on the base that I've already curated and, exploring new opportunities such as the District Spotlight, which is so awesome that you guys are such a champion for local independent music. I mean, it's so necessary and it's amazing. So thank you guys for doing what you do.
Thank you. No
Yeah.
problem.
Couldn't do without you. So
Yeah,
Well,
that's true.
Well, it's awesome to be a part of it. But I feel like in general, indie has really like amped up the local scene, and I feel like it's really thriving lately. So just kind of being a part of that and seeing what comes of it and supporting other artists and just exploring the local scene, I feel like it has infinite possibility for sure.
I love that you say that because literally everybody that we talked to in like the last 2 months has said the exact same thing.
Cool,
Especially people that are
cool.
actually in it, you know what I mean? And we've seen it ourselves. This kind of, like I said earlier, kind of started as an idea. We didn't know exactly what we were going to do with it, but as we got further into it, we wanted to be a middleman, a platform, somebody that's able to filter all the
Yeah.
talent. And we've kind of realized that there's so much talent and there's so much coming up. I bet you in the next 2 to 5 years, indie is really putting on the map,
Yeah.
for real, like for real. There's a lot of stuff that's happening right now.
Yeah.
And we're really excited for it. People like you that are just incredible. You help lead the way too. So
Well, thank you.
we appreciate you as well. But
It's a very nice symbiotic relationship that's
Yeah.
going on.
it is necessary. There's nobody.
Yeah.
There are other people doing it right now, but the more the merrier. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
For sure.
The more the merrier.
speaking of that, how many have you done a podcast yet? Or-
A couple years ago, I did Brother Beer Cast with Johnny Lyles, which is like a local music podcast. But
Cool.
this is a whole production, and I love it. Like I'm here for it. You guys really know what you're doing. So,
Yeah.
not that he
Brand helps.
didn't. That sounded really shady. So no shade intended. Just
No shade.
Yeah, we just added more layers to it. I feel like,
Yeah.
we have a combined vision. Is kind of how I say it. Me, Ben, and Bram, our producer, who's also part of the team in the District Spotlight. It is a combined thing, and
Definitely.
we all have a very high level of expectation.
well, I feel like
And
your
it's
expectation is hopefully achieved. I mean, this is pretty fantastic.
not yet.
I
Thank you, though.
get it. I get it.
No, thank you. It could always get better.
We
but
made it through one season.
Yeah, one season.
Most
That's
fail.
huge.
Most fail after like 7 episodes. So
Okay.
it's like once we made it past 7, we're like, well, I mean, we did it.
But
Yeah.
Anyway, back to you. Back to you.
Yeah.
back to
It's
you.
all good. It's all good.
Back to you. Thanks for the love there. So
Definitely.
if you like you're really experienced and you've been really experienced at a young age, there's obviously other little young musicians out there, 12, 13, 14, 15, that want to attack this and maybe they don't have the support, the amazing support of their parents or
Yeah,
friends.
right.
What is something that you've been through that you might think would help them?
Man, there's a lot of perks to this industry. There's a lot of freedom that comes with it. There's a lot of high highs, but there's also a lot of low lows. Rejection can hurt, especially when you're putting your art form out there, which is really just an extension of yourself, your thoughts, and your feelings. So my best advice is just to not get caught up in the rejection or the fear of rejection. Put yourself out there, try your best, and love what you're doing, and believe in your own art. play as many gigs as you can. You know, I played my first gig at a coffee shop in Fishers. My parents were the only ones there. There was like a couple other people, but you know, you just learn to give it your all and believe in yourself and hope for the best, you know?
Amen.
Wow.
Speaking
beautiful.
of making your own art, everything you do is your own. Like
Yeah.
you do everything, correct?
Yeah.
You write, you record, everything.
Produce, yeah, all the...
That's fire.
Thank you. You know, I just hit a point a couple years ago, right around when I wrote All the Right Places in 2016. I had released an album previously and collaborated with some insanely talented musicians down in Bloomington and Brown County, co-produced it with Derek Day, and it was fantastic. Like, it's a time capsule of who I was at that point as an artist, but I just hit a point where I'm like, man, if I really want my music to translate from what I'm hearing in my head to what's coming through the speakers, I have to take full control of my art. And so I invested in learning about production and building up my home studio and continued to write songs and get better. And just having total control of that is invaluable to me. So.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
You're a badass, dude, honestly.
Thanks.
No problem. But all right, is there anything else that you have? We do have to wrap this up. Is there anything else that you have coming up within the next few weeks, few months, within the next year?
A lot of shows coming up this summer. Make sure to check out my website, haleyjonay.com, and my socials for updates on that. I'm going to be releasing a lot of new music this year, so just stay tuned. A lot of exciting things.
Singles, more singles, or what do you got planned?
You know,
if you're allowed to talk about that.
No, you know, I'm my own boss, so I guess I can kind of decide that. But yeah, at this point, I'm thinking singles, but if they add up to a fire EP, then I guess I'm dropping an EP. I guess we're just going to have to see.
All right, you heard it here first. Okay, so where can people find you on your social medias?
Yeah, at Haley Jonay or www.haleyjonay.com.
Excellent.
Where do you store some of these at?
You can get those on my website,
Okay.
or you can get them at live shows, or you can stream all my music on Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, all the places.
Yes, stream away, buy away.
Please do.
All right, well, heck yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys so much.
Seriously,
You're awesome.
You're kick butt, man.
Aw.
You're doing what you're doing. Ed Sheeran will probably be at one of your shows here soon. I saw that little Ed Sheeran thing you did, but
Yeah,
all
that'd be
right.
sick.
This is the District Spotlight. We've been in Zach, your premier platform for independent music. Thank you guys so much.
Peace.
Peace and love. Like, comment, share, subscribe.
Thanks, Haley.
Yes, thank you.